Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because today we are doing cake 2 of our holiday cake series. So this one is a personal favorite of mine. I don't know about you guys, but you know when Starbucks comes out with all their holiday drinks, the one special one that I always go for is the Peppermint Mocha. So that's kind of what inspired me today, and I'm also being inspired by MILKBAR. I don't know if you know them, Christina Tosi. It's her bakery. They're amazing. So today we are doing a MILKBAR inspired Peppermint Mocha cake. Because the style of this cake is more of a naked cake, you don't have to worry as much about the outside decorating, because what's beautiful about these cakes is actually seeing all the layers of cake, buttercream, fudge, all the good stuff. So that's what we're going with today. I hope you're as excited as I am, so let's get started. All right, so although today's cake is simpler in essence because we're not using as many techniques for decoration, there are quite a few components to the cake. So you will be needing a batch of vanilla buttercream. The vanilla buttercream that I've used is American buttercream. So it's basically butter, powdered sugar, and cream that you've whipped up. And to that, I've added peppermint oil. So this is gonna make it just like a simple peppermint buttercream. It tastes like the holidays and it's so good. You'll also need one batch of your favorite chocolate cake. I decided to bake my chocolate cake on a baking pan, the same way they do at MILKBAR. To be honest, between you and I, if you don't have time to make a chocolate cake from scratch, you can definitely use a box mix. No one will know, okay? But I would just go with your favorite cake recipe. So chocolate cake goes in the baking pan, and you want to bake this according to the instructions on the box or according to your usual recipe. And then once it comes out, I use this like spring mold or spring cake pan. I don't know what it's called, to be honest. And I just use this to cut out the discs of cake that we'll be using. With this cake pan, I was able to get 3. And then with whatever was left over, I was able to get a 4th one. Another super important component to our cake today is hot chocolate fudge. Obviously, it's called hot chocolate fudge, but we're gonna be using it cold. So you really wanna make sure it's coming out of your fridge. You can definitely buy hot fudge sauce at the store. They sell them pretty much everywhere around like the ice cream aisles. However, if you wanna make a homemade fudge sauce, I'll be linking my recipe in the description. Our final components for this cake are cookie crumbs, okay? So I really think this is important, and that's what they do at MILKBAR as well. It adds a certain texture to the cake and it brings a crunch, because everything else is like a smooth buttercream, a luscious fudge, and a nice moist cake. But you want a little crunchy addition in there to kind of like give you an extra texture. So that's what these cookie crumbs are gonna be adding to the cake. So we have 2 different crumbs today. We are doing a peppermint crumb as well as a mocha crumb. And I'm gonna show you guys how to make those right away. For the peppermint crumble, we'll be needing cake flour, granulated sugar, brown sugar, oil, a neutral oil, so it could either be grapeseed oil or vegetable oil, some baking powder, some salt. We will also be needing peppermint oil or peppermint extract, and last but not least, vanilla. So this recipe is super easy, super simple. Most of the ingredients are ones that you would probably have around the house. So we are going in with cake flour. Then we're going in with granulated sugar. Then we have our brown sugar. And we have our salt and baking powder. So when you get to this point, you just want to use a fork or a whisk, and you just want to mix everything together. Also, you want to try to ensure at this point to break up your brown sugar, because you don't want huge clumps of just sugar. You really want it to be spread evenly throughout the whole mix. Once everything is mixed together, this is where we're adding in our oil. I have vegetable oil today. And you're also going to want to add in your vanilla. For those of you who know me, I always go by eye, but you know, it's about a teaspoon or 2. And then we're adding our secret ingredient, which is our peppermint oil. So you really don't want to go overboard with this, because if you put too much, it's going to make a huge difference in your cake, and it's going to go from like a delicious peppermint mocha cake to toothpaste real fast. So you really just want to be careful. I start with a few drops, just like that. And then I could keep it to the side and readjust afterwards. If you don't smell it at all, then you might want to add a bit more. And at this point, you want to create and develop clumps, right? Because you want it to be a crumble. So as you're mixing through, you want to be gentle, and it'll almost look like a pie dough or a pie crust at this point. Look, it's like a sandy texture, and we're getting nice crumbs in here, you see? Big clumps. So that's what we want. So once your crumble is nicely mixed, you just want to pour it onto a baking sheet that's lined with parchment paper again. And then with clean hands, you could kind of just spread it just like so. So you see, you really got big ones, you've got smaller ones. That's exactly what we're looking for. You've got some that are like a bit more sandy, which is fine. We're just going to be using the best ones anyway. So this is heading into a preheated oven at 300 Fahrenheit for about 15 to 20 minutes. At that point, you want to check them. It's normal that they're a bit soft. As they cool, they will harden and become crunchy little morsels of deliciousness. All right, so while my oven is preheating, we are going to get going on the second crumble, which is our Mocha Crumble. So for this one, you need all-purpose flour, granulated sugar, cocoa powder, and instant espresso that have been sifted. And at this point, you want to take a whisk or a fork again and just work everything together. So once you've got that, you want to add in your butter that you've melted. And you also want to add in a bit of vanilla, again, about a teaspoon or two. So at that point, you just go in with your fork, and again, you want to work it in, and you want to try to create clumps. So you don't want to get like a paste. You're not looking to create like a cookie dough. You really want clumps to be formed. Oh man, it smells so good. There's something about like chocolate and coffee that just works, you know what I mean? Add peppermint to it and you've got me, oh my God. And we're actually gonna bake this at the same time with the other peppermint crumble. This way we're just saving a bit of time. So I'm gonna get another baking sheet ready with the parchment paper and do the exact same thing for this one as well. All right, so my Mocha Crumble is ready to hit the oven with the peppermint one. Just keep in mind though that this one, because it's butter-based, does cook faster. So this one should be done within 10 to 15 minutes compared to that one that's gonna be in there for about 20. You really wanna keep an eye on it if you're baking them at the same time, because due to its color, you can't tell if it's browning or burning. So you really wanna be careful with this one. I would say 10 minutes and you're good to go. All right, guys, so as you can see, our crumble has come out of the oven, or crumbles, I should say. So our peppermint one is looking awesome, and we've got our mocha one here as well. So now we're ready to go ahead and assemble the cake. So to begin, I'm just gonna explain a bit of the equipment that's needed. So you're gonna need this cake mold. It is an adjustable one, and there's no base to it. So I always build it on either a plate or a cake stand. Today I'm actually using a cake board because I had one on hand, but you can definitely assemble this cake directly on whatever you'll be presenting it on. So we have that, and I've lined it with acetate because I don't want it to stick, obviously, and it just makes for a cleaner finish. So now we're gonna go ahead and layer the cake up. So I just started by adding a bit of my peppermint buttercream to the base of the cake board, and I've already put in my first layer. I covered that with a bit of peppermint buttercream, and then I just crumbled a bit of the Mocha crumbs on, and now we're at the part of adding a bit of the peppermint ones. So you really want a mix of both crumbs in between each layer, because that's what really gives this cake that next level of deliciousness. Perfect. So once you have both your crumbs in, you want to go in with the chocolate fudge. As you can see, my chocolate fudge is a bit runny, which is fine. You don't want to put too much of this because it is sweet, right? So you don't want to put a full layer. You just want to drizzle it kind of around, just like so. And once that's done, I like adding a bit of crushed candy cane, just because why not? You know what I mean? All right, so now that I've added those crushed candy canes, we're gonna go back in with the second layer of cake. So we're just gonna bring this delicately inside the mold, and you want to work it in because it's such a tight squeeze. It's normal that you have to kind of press it down with your fingers, all while being as gentle as possible. Once that second layer of cake is in, we're going back in with our peppermint buttercream. So just like before, we want to do a nice even layer. So once you've put some in there, you want to get a spoon and you want to kind of even it out. And you want to make sure to get to the edges of the acetate, because when you unmold the whole thing, you really want to see every single layer. So every time we're putting a component in the cake, you want to make sure to bring it all the way to the edge. Same thing with the crumble, same thing with the fudge, same thing with the buttercream. Otherwise, you won't notice it at a first glance. So now that that's in, we're going with our Mocha Crumb. And we're gonna do the same thing with the peppermint. Over that, we are going in with our chocolate fudge again. A nice drizzle. And with our candy cane. So I'm simply gonna keep doing this until I go through all my cake layers. All right, so I got to my top layer. I've stacked all the layers of cake I had, and I just put, once again, a layer of peppermint buttercream. So now I'm gonna go ahead and finish the cake off with a few more cookie crumbs. So at this point, you'd wanna be maybe a bit more careful with the placement because this is what's gonna be seen on the top of the cake. So you wanna take the time that's necessary in order to make it as beautiful as possible. So I'm just gonna take a few of the crumbs, and I'm gonna alternate the chocolate or the mocha and the peppermint all around the circumference. And obviously at this point, you want to try to get ones that are similar size. So if you have ones that are like really way too big, at this point, you could kind of break them down with your fingers. And guys, at this point, you really want to be generous because the crumbs are the best part of this whole thing. Trust me. And just to finish it off, I like to add a bit more of the crushed candy cane around the rim as well, just to add a little touch of color and for people to know, you know, what the flavor of the cake is. All right, so there you go. I'm going to pop this amazing cake in the freezer. You want to leave it there for probably a few hours, like the longer, the better. Obviously, it's best consumed room temperature, but you don't want to go from the freezer to the counter because that's going to create condensation. So you really want to go from the freezer to the fridge, and then a few hours before slicing into it, then you could leave it on the counter for it to get to room temperature. So this is going in the freezer, and I'll unmold this with you guys in no time. All right, guys, so the cake is nice and cool. So we're now ready to unmold it. So these hands, if you will, or molds are really simple. All you do is pull them apart like so, and then you're able to remove it like this. Look how beautiful that looks, guys. Oh my God, this is so exciting. Now that the mold is off, you can see that the acetate is here. I did use Scotch tape in order to avoid it from moving. So I will need a pair of scissors in order to just remove the acetate. So I got the first layer off. We're going in for the second. All right, guys, so there you have it, my MILKBAR and Starbucks inspired peppermint mocha cake. So as you can see, you have the layers of the cake, the peppermint buttercream, you have the crumbs in and around, and obviously the nice fudge hot sauce. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really hope you try it at home because it's an amazing combo. And yeah, as usual, if ever you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, please don't hesitate in leaving a comment. And I really hope you enjoyed. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye. All right, guys, so here's a close-up look at the final cake. Look how festive that looks. Oh my God. And when you look at all the layers, you really see the candy cane, the peppermint buttercream, the crumbs, the fudge. Oh man, I can't wait to slice into this one.